All right, guys. Once again, here we are with Fisherman's Tale. This is a comic creator chat with this is Charlie Stickney.
Yeah,
Did I say that right?
yeah, perfect.
He's writer of White Ash. He writes for Scout Comics. So excited to have him on here. So, I guess Charles, how did you get started doing this?
Comics or being at Scout, because those are all kind of tied together. But
Okay, then both.
well,
Just give me the story.
so my story starts a long time ago when I was a young boy who loved comic books, and I had this dream of working for Marvel. I think,
Nice.
like a lot of us do when we're growing up, I wanted to be an inker and a writer.
Hmm.
And when I was in college, I interned there, and I was looking to go into writing and inking and move to New York City. Then I got a job offer in Los Angeles, and I sort of said, put that on hold just for a little minute. And then I moved out to LA, where I've been for the last 20 plus years. And I worked in the entertainment industry for a long time, worked in animation, worked in feature film, a little bit in television. But that entire time, I kind of wanted to get back to comics.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people look to go from comics to the entertainment industry. And for me, the dream has always been about storytelling, and I love the medium of comic books. And so a couple of years ago, I started building this really big epic tale called White Ash. It's a comic book series that I have slated out to go for about 60 issues. But then on top of
That's
that,
sort of ambitious, there, isn't it? 60
it,
issues
it,
already.
it is, especially because at that point I hadn't been doing anything in the comic book industry, right?
Hmm.
Most, and they always sort of tell you maybe you should start out small, do a one shot, do a mini series here. And I was like, the heck with that. I'm going to do my opus. I'll just start out with that. I'll plot it out. I'll have these mini series planned that can be spin-offs to add backstory and just build this gigantic world. And so, I started doing that on the Kickstarter circuit,
Hmm.
and White Ash, became very successful there. And at which point I started talking to some of the people at Scout to see if, they were interested in maybe picking up the book and bring it to Scout. And, for me, I'd always had the mindset as someone going on Kickstarter that if I was going to bring something to a publisher, I wanted to make it a unique version.
Hmm.
So I had been kickstarting with that in mind. So like the Kickstarter version of White Ash at that point had been 4 single issues that were all oversized,
Oh, okay.
which I knew I could then take to a publisher like, say, Scout, and
Hmm.
change those into more issues,
Gotcha.
and I could add additional content. So when Scout started releasing, like those first 4 became a 6-issue miniseries
Oh, okay.
that had all new, it had, each issue had new pages.
Hmm.
Each issues had, multiple brand new covers. So it was the first print, right? It wasn't just Scout reprinting what
Yeah.
I had done on Kickstarter. It was a whole new collectible version in a
So
sense.
you thought that through from the get-go of
Yeah, yeah. Like
okay.
I always, again, because I came from, I worked as a producer
Mm,
also, so for me, it's not, let's just jump into something. It's plan out what's our business plan, how
yeah.
we're doing this. So I never tried to go on Comixology. I
Yeah.
never, I didn't want to taint any of those markets. I wasn't offering retailer bundles because I
Yeah.
wanted to save that for the publisher. So like as a Kickstarter creator, I was already thinking about those things. And then I started working with Scout.
Mm,
Um, and, we had a lot of conversations because I was helping them, like they had been around for a couple of years at this point and had been doing well. But I had some ideas about how they could up their social media game, how they could do some better outreach here and there. And those talks sort of evolved into me coming on board as part of the company. And
okay.
then flash forward, 6 months later, all of a sudden I'm now co-publisher over at Scout. And so, we're implementing a lot of those things that I was originally envisioning for myself as a creator
Yeah.
as company practices. So occasionally, while Scout will have things that come from Kickstarter, we now have guidelines where we work with creators to make sure whatever they're bringing to Scout still will be a unique product that we can put out into the market, so that
Okay.
everything, can be another collectible version, right?
Because you
Uh,
have some great creators that have come out of the Kickstarter into Scout, but
mhm.
their Kickstarter covers are like completely different. And even
Yep.
then, you have guys like Smokey and Woodall
Yep.
do with the Electric Black. they go kickstart something that they're go, okay, Scout sort of likes it, but let's prove that's a concept.
Yeah, it's also it's more than that, because if you look at the economics
Hmm.
of comics right now, and you look at a site like Comicron that shows you the single issue sales,
Yeah.
and you start thinking about how much money the creator is actually going to make from that comic book. You know, when those numbers start dropping under 10,000 issues sold, it becomes really hard to break even on producing
Hmm.
a comic book. So, you know, there's not a lot of comics that are being put out that are over that 10,000 or 8,000
And
issue.
that's, you guys hover right there at that line.
We occasionally get up there for number ones, right?
Yeah.
Through like, you know, and then the thing about Comic-Con is that it doesn't measure everything.
Yeah.
It measures a lot, but just to give you a general, you know, like with Diamond and how the publishers take the money, just to get into the weeds of it,
Yeah.
you know, for every issue sold, the publisher is probably taking back, for a $4 issue,
Mm.
$1.62,
Yeah.
right? You know, and so, you know, that $1.62 has to go to printing costs to cover
Mm.
those things. And then once all of those things are covered, then you're finally getting into some kind of revenue you can share with the creator. So, you know, when it comes to independent comics, even in a company like Image, you know, where they have bigger print runs and they have
Yeah.
bigger numbers, I know a lot of creators who have been there who made some money for the first issue and then never saw a penny for the rest of their series.
Yeah.
And that's not, you know, to put a hit on Image. It's just more like the numbers of books, right?
Yeah.
And how
Well, I
much it
mean,
costs to make a comic.
most stores don't sign up for issue 2. I mean, or
Right.
sorry, they usually do 1 and 2.
Yep.
And then I love what you guys did to Scout with this entire wait 2 months
Yep.
thing. I think that has potential. It looks, and from what I've heard, it has.
It's been working so far for us. And for anyone who's new to that, we instituted something called the launch window policy, where that way the creators, the stores could order number 2 when they're seeing how number 1 sells. Because right now with a crazy system, at least with us, they have to often order issues number 1, number 2, and number 3 before the first issue hits the stands. So they
Yeah.
have no idea if the series is going to be a hit. Like Black Cotton, which just
Hmm.
dropped recently,
Yeah.
is that's going to sell out. You know, a little tip to any of your, if
I
your
just saw the
your
web store
readers,
is
right?
already sold out. The web store
Yeah,
exclusive.
yeah. So like, but the regular
Yeah.
cover also going to sell out. You know,
Yeah.
second printing probably coming.
Well,
That's
I
not
talked to those guys on Tuesday. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are awesome, but you know, it's selling really well. I think retailers slept on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like, so sometimes, you know, but just like where those numbers are, with even with a title that's doing well, sometimes there's just not enough income to sustain a series
Mm.
or to do more than 3 issues or 4 issues. And once you start doing 5 issues, the series has to be doing really well for the creators who are developing it not to be deep in the hole.
Yeah.
And depending on how well you pay your artists, depending on who you're working with, you know, and I've been very fortunate that I've worked with some great artists.
Yeah.
And you know, and I pay them commiserate with their talent. So,
Mm.
you know, like White Ash has been a very expensive series to make, and if
It's
I
beautiful
didn't,
though.
yeah,
Connor Hughes does a great job.
yeah, he's incredible. But you know, it's like if I hadn't been doing it, raising money on Kickstarter, I would probably be $30,000 or $40,000 in the hole,
Mm.
right? You know, which you're not going to make up on the retail market anyway. At this point, you know,
Okay.
even at Image, you know, like so like the economics of comics is a little broken right now. So at Scout, you know, we've been kind of trying to find ways to let creators raise, you know, it's almost like a different market. Like you see the same thing, like the Kickstarter covers, you know, when people are investing, they don't even know about those, right? For the
Yeah.
most part, I would guess.
Mm.
You know, occasionally if it's a creator who's done both things, then people start to know. But there's a
Yeah.
whole world of independent comics on Kickstarter that functions right now that people are only just starting to become aware of. And that doesn't step on the market from the stores, because most of those people who are buying those Kickstarter books, you know, it's probably about a 70% different audience. So anyway, like the goal is, if you do a Kickstarter, make sure you can raise enough to produce your book. And then when you bring it to the next market, make sure it's different enough so it's also collectible. So, you know,
You'll
and
get.
that, you know, the retailer can sell it. So like with
Yeah.
this Galarian one shot that just came out,
Yeah.
I released that as a digital thing first on Kickstarter.
Okay.
So it had never been printed, but it was a reward that was included with some of the backers. And I used the Kickstarter for White Ash to help fund it, right?
Okay.
But this is the first time it's ever been printed, was through Scout. And you
Gotcha.
know, as as co-publisher, I have the ability to sort of go back and forth a little bit easier, and I can make these
Mm,
plans now and say, hey, we'll do this on Kickstarter, and then we can take it to Scout and publish it. And just make sure that everyone gets paid, because like that's for me. I just want to make sure that my artists get paid, that the people work on the book
yeah.
get paid, and that the
Okay.
retailers have something they can sell.
That makes a lot, because I had been curious, because I've talked to several guys now who got their start doing Kickstarters and then now
Mhm.
made it to Scout or they made it to Source Point,
Yeah,
and but they still go back to Kickstarter for a lot of
yeah.
their stuff, and that makes a lot more sense because I guess it just doesn't cross my mind, and it's hard. I talked to James Hake, and he
Hmm.
earlier in the Christmas time or whatever, he just talked about the fact that the print runs on Comic Con, like you said, are not accurate, or the sales data is not accurate for you guys because you sell so many different ways.
We sell things
Um,
on the website. We sell things with retailer exclusives, and we do a lot of those exclusive covers and things like that. Yeah, but still, even though like it's it's almost like looking at Kickstarter as like how when Scout puts out an ash can, right? And
mhm.
like those, the ash cans are the first appearance. We don't do those for Kickstarter books because they've already had that ash can,
Yeah,
that first experience. And so that's like another way of looking at some of those the Kickstarters as the ash cans. Those are going
yeah.
to be a more limited print run, usually depending on the
Mm,
creator, than the Scout print run. So in some cases, that's like the first appearance.
okay.
Like for Galarian,
Mm.
um, the first place that she appeared was White Ash #3 in the Kickstarter, right?
But on number
Right.
4 for the
The Scout,
actual
because like
issues, yeah, Scout
because the
issues.
difference of dominant. So this was the variant cover for
Oh wow, that's
White
gorgeous.
Ash #3,
Yeah.
which featured Galarian, right? And the artist who did that, Romana Morinelli, is the artist I'm now working with on the Galarian miniseries that we're going to be
Ooh.
launching on Kickstarter right now. She also
Okay.
did the first story in that one shot. You know how there was
Mm.
like 3 stories in there?
Yeah.
The one that was set in ancient Elfheim. So she's doing the art for it, and it is beautiful. It's the best thing I've ever seen her do. Like, she is so invested in the character and what she's doing. It's just gorgeous.
So you
Um,
knew ahead of time, because of the way you created the Kickstarter with the
mhm.
chapter 3, that 4 was going to be the issue that people. Galarian seemed like she was going to be one of your big characters, and so you knew ahead of time. Okay, I'm just trying to think through, because it's so weird, interesting to me. Yeah, the Kickstarter's over here, but issue 1 comes out, you have a web store exclusive, you have your New York City Comic Con exclusive, you have the incentive cover. Issue 2 comes out, you have a web store exclusive, and then issue 3 comes out, just issue 3. Issue 4 comes out, just issue 4. Oh wait, there's a second print of issue 4. Like, it was sort of that. Oh, you knew that she was going to be. I mean, obviously she was a freaking awesome. Like, when I had read issue 4, I was like, you just dropped this random character in who has a story that everyone wants to see. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
So without giving too much away about the mythos of
mm,
White Ash, like there's the story going forward that we're following of Alec and Lillian,
hmm,
but so much of the backstory of that world is about Thane and Galarian. So so she is a pivotal character, even though I won't say what happens in White Ash, #4. Like you
I
have
had to write like spoiler. I was like,
yeah.
no.
So it's like it's like but so much of this story goes back 3,000 years,
Hmm.
and that's all plotted out. And so like this mini series that we're going to see takes place in 2 times. It
Hmm.
takes place in 1970s New York with a
Ooh.
young woman named Rachel, who's just recently had some tragedy in her life. She's dealing with depression, and she's seeing a psychiatrist. But part of the reason she's seeing this psychiatrist is she's having visions of being this woman Galarian from 3,000 years ago. So
Hmm.
we're seeing Galarian's story from 3,000 years ago, when she was a little bit younger than Lillian is in White Ash, through the eyes of this woman in 1970s New York. And there's 2 stories that will eventually come together over the course of the miniseries as we see how they're related.
Oh,
And it will then, so it's a standalone miniseries, but it will also, for White Ash readers, tie back into that mythos.
okay.
So if you read White Ash, you'll love this because it's going to give you so much more backstory that you're going to appreciate, that gives you more insight into where the book is going. But if you just read this miniseries, it's just going to be a great standalone miniseries about this warrior elf who I like to call like the Red Sonja of elves, but a little bit more dangerous and a little bit sexier.
Oh yeah, because let's see, your one shot. She only two big fight scenes she has. She's naked in them. she,
you know, like the thing that I like to think of with elves, you know,
Mhm.
it's your own relationship to your body,
Yeah.
right? And so for her, that's just a state of who she is.
Oh, the
So like
fight
it's
scenes are gorgeous.
thank you, yeah. But like so like I think you know I always try to couch whatever I'm doing in, you know, like it has to be intrinsic to the narrative of both the character and the story, right? You know, we're not like, so what I will say about the Galarian miniseries is it's probably the most R-rated thing that I've done to date, but that's because the character of Galarian herself is R-rated,
Yeah.
right? I like to say that White Ash follows two PG-13 characters, Alec and Lillian, who are
Hmm.
set in an R-rated universe. You know, so like these things happen to them and they have to, you know, like, oh, you know, like here's reality coming in, because
Hmm.
reality can be R-rated, especially when you're, you know, dealing with the things that they
Man,
deal
was it
with.
the Brood?
Yeah,
Was it man when that issue 5? I think it was when he kidnapped
yeah,
the. I was like,
Catelyn.
oh, what?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's you know, it goes to some dark places, but like, so like
Yeah.
that's what I like to say. Like there are R-rated characters who come into this world that Alec and Lillian have to deal with, but they themselves, you know, would be fine on the CW.
Yeah.
But the problem is these people from HBO just keep showing up, right? Like that's
I like that.
whereas Galarian would make her home very nicely on
Mhm.
HBO.
Yes.
And so the world and the story that she's dealing with is a little bit heavier. So it's touching on some more mature themes, which is why we call it a Kickstarter for, you know,
Yeah.
mature readers. So there will be a little bit more language, there will be a little bit more sexuality in that book, but again, it's intrinsic to her character and it's part of her journey. And I have and I work with a sensitivity reader to make
Mhm.
sure that, you know, we're approaching the subject matter from the right angle. You know, if you know, it was also important to me that I had a female artist drawing this book. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to have a book centered on two female leads and have some guy trying to put his perspective on that. So, you know, I think those things are important and help you, you know, more appropriately handle any subject matter that might be a little risque.
Well, and like I know I point out the fight scenes to her, but like it doesn't feel like you're sexualizing her at all.
Yeah,
The power that she displays in those fight scenes is great. And then I mean, then if I look at your variant cover, the Carla Cohen, you got a girl doing your or lady doing your cover that sold out within hours. It felt like as
right.
soon as the web store went live, and then the metal sold out. That same actually the metal sold out first, and
Yeah.
then the web store. I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
it was like, and even with that cover, like I worked with Carla, like because Carla in general does the sexy, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that's part of her
Oh,
trope. So
she's trained under Perillo, so
yeah, so like so but working with her, it was important to both her and me that, you know, like as you can see, like she's got the hand in the fist and the
yeah.
hand on the sword in that cover. And
Here,
because
I'll throw it up so people can see what we're talking about here.
yeah, like but there was, you know, like it was trying to balance the sexiness of the character with also showing that she was empowered.
Yeah.
So like that was my, you know, direction to her and going back and forth. Like that was, you know, what she was working towards, but also in the confines of her style.
Yeah.
So yeah. But like you said, like that has pretty much completely sold out. I did hold back a couple of copies because, like I said, you know, this came from Kickstarter, right?
Mhm.
And I want, you know, I always want to reward the Kickstarter backers for helping create this universe. So I dropped in an update for White Ash. I gave them an exclusive link to a private White Ash collection to give them first shot at
Mhm.
things. And so they've had that link for a couple of weeks now. So I am now going to share that with your audience. I
Ooh,
think did I send you that link?
you
If
did.
you want,
Yeah, it's
it's
awesome.
the Galarian secret link. If you want to, if you can put
Yeah.
that up.
Well, I have it. It's going to be in the guys. It's going to be in the article that I'm going to write. It's going to be linked in, so you'll
Yeah,
be able to see it here, and I'll sure show you on
it's
the
a
website.
Bitly link.
Yeah, it's a bit.ly link. If hold on a second, so you can see right here. This is the article where you can see all the amazing covers for this book. Is all here, and then down at the very bottom, and the video will be in here as well. I'm just scrolling through all these ridiculously gorgeous covers for Galarian and for that you can find on the site. And then at the very bottom here, here's Kickstarter, and then down here, it's secret stash of virgin covers. So if you click right here, it will take you to Scout's website. Well, it's supposed to.
It will. It will. We'll make sure this is working. There you go. So you know, there's two things here. There are, I guess it must have been a Facebook.
Yeah, but all you have to do is click follow the link, and it'll take you there.
You'll get it. And if you're not in a Facebook account, I think it just goes straight there. But there are two things in this collection. One is, I think there's the last 13 Carla Cohen covers, which are part of a bundle. But that bundle also includes virgin covers that we did for White Ash that have only been offered through here. And we only printed up 100 of these. These are virgin covers of the Romana Morinelli cover, the A cover, and the Connor Hughes B cover. So, you know, anyone who's reading this article, watching this video, there are only 100 of these. They've only been offered from this link. So if you like to collect, these are going to be ultra collectibles. And then also in that, I've shared a discount code, which is good for 20% off anything except for that private collection on the Scout website, for like back issues, for single issues, for slabs, for trades. And that discount code will be live until the Galarian Kickstarter is over. So
yeah, it's a great discount, guys. 20% off on Scout stuff is great. I used it to grab some Galarian books, but also it's just a great deal. I appreciate sharing that with us.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, we want to drop exclusive codes here and there for people for our website, and just, you know, to reward people who are checking out what we're doing, because we're trying to make some great books, make them all collectible, and sort of serve both audiences. We don't want them just to be collectible. We want them to be great reads too. So,
well, and speaking of that, I do have to say, I have to confess something. When White Ash came out, that came out the exact same time or right the same week as White Trees. So there's two indie books that came out almost identical time, and I ended up getting White Trees, but then I did eventually get White Ash. The first issue does not tell you how awesome the book is. I think it's because of the way it got broken up. I felt like I was reading a serial killer book, and I was like, "This, okay, it's okay." But man, issue 2 picks up, and you're like, "What the hell? This is awesome!"
So this was, you know, going back to my master plan. The one flaw in the master plan was when I wrote that, like, that the first Kickstarter issue ends where issue 2 does. So like that was the big hook to bring people in. Now, when I went to break it up with Scout, it doesn't have the same oomph at the end of the first issue. So like that, it's still good. Yeah. But I wish I had had the hook that was at the end of issue 2, and I think that would have helped. However, going forward, that's something I've been able to, you know, to write with that more in mind. Yeah. So like the second arc of White Ash is dropping this summer, towards the end of the summer. And the first issue will be an oversized 40-page issue, which has a good hook at the end. But it's also a great entree, on point for new readers too. It's designed for both.
And so that, the guys, issue 1 was great. Don't get me wrong. It just, you didn't get the clues to being elves and dwarves and all that stuff.
Yeah, like that Kaiser Sose moment happens in where you kind of look back and say, "Oh, wait a minute, this is what this book is actually about." Happens at the end of issue 2.
Yeah, and that was what. So I say that to say I read issue 1, didn't get issue 2 until I found it in a dollar bin. Read issue 2, and I was like, okay, now let me start following. And I picked up. Now I have the entire series. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted my entire collection of everything White Ash that I've now accumulated, just because it's a good read, and you have an eye for picking artists that do great covers too. And in a collector's market, that's so important.
I have been really, really lucky with who I've gotten to work with in this industry. So like I said, especially as coming to the industry after being in other things, and like working in animation, I've got to work with a lot of great artists. So I think I have an eye for that because of that. But I didn't have a lot of connections when I came, And, right out of the bat, like, I mean, I got to meet people like Nick Robles. Do you know Nick Robles, who does like all the stuff? I did the Dreaming he's been doing that over at DC right now.
Oh yeah, the Vertigo Dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, he was doing a book at IDW. Before that, he did Alien Bounty Hunter at Vault. So he's been around for a while, but his covers are insane.
Yeah.
Like absolutely insane. I'm sorry I don't have the one up in front of me right now that he like. So he did a variant cover for White Ash #2 that is killer. And
I love that thing.
So it's not on the Scout website. This was for the Kickstarter version.
Okay, so not that the web store exclusive was gorgeous. It's not like the rest of them, but it's gorgeous. I loved it.
Yeah. So, but I'll send you a link to that so you can so you can actually see some of the other covers that we've done through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But so he would like that, like this one that I showed you over here that Romana did for Glarion.
Wait, this one is that it? Is that what you're?
That's okay. So that was from Connor Hughes. That was we did that in the old for Valentine's Day. Check out the other one for #2. Do you if you have? Is there another one?
I grabbed all the ones I could grab. Let's see.
Yeah. So we also had Joe Keons did a variant for #4. Nick Robles did it. It's got with a videotape where Alec is holding a videotape.
Okay. I don't have it loaded here. I do. Right, I did have it.
But so he did that one for me. But he also did this pinup, which I'll send you that too because it's killer and it's all in. It just looks painted. It's absolutely gorgeous. So like I said, I've gotten so lucky to be able to work with these artists. And then like in the one shot, I got to work with Yishan Lee, who's done Swing over at Top Cow. She's done some Buffy vampires. And so she's done a killer cover for Galarian for this next miniseries that's coming out. Lana Kangas has done a variant cover for us. Romana's done a cover. Connor's done a cover. And Rossi Campy, who did Spider-Gwen, also did a cover for us. So we have 5 covers for the miniseries. And if we hit a stretch goal, there may be a 6th special cover dropping. Just putting out there. And
I love stretch goals and Kickstarters are amazing. Like just some of the stuff that you guys are able to, if we hit the numbers, guys, we can do it. Because I guess everything gets cheaper. The more you buy, the cheaper it gets to print.
It does, yeah. And like if you go back through our White Ash campaigns, we give a lot of stretch goals away. We fill our campaigns with lots of extras, so you're not just getting a book. Like so for this one, it'll be a 40-page issue of Glarion. You will get a print, and you will get this special 2 Worlds gold coin, where one half is like a New York subway token. NYC subway token from the 70s, and the other half is like the Elven world. So like that's all part of like one of the base levels that you pledge at, the physical levels.
I've been seeing coins have become comic collectors and Kickstarters are starting to include them. Like one of my stores sent me one. I'm like, I didn't know this was like, it feels like the old military challenge coins. I got that.
Well, that's part of the thing. I think with a lot of these things, the printing, the minting used to be so much more expensive. But now as those price points are dropping, we can offer those as, stretch goals or add-ons and Kickstarters, or, the independent artist publisher can afford that technology. It's the same thing with like Kickstarter wouldn't have existed if printing costs hadn't come down.
Yeah.
Because printing used to be so incredibly expensive. And now there are lots of ways that you can professionally print a comic book that look fantastic.
I say some of the Kickstarter books that have come out have looked better than what I get from Marvel, like the quality of the print.
That's the thing is like, I think if you're paying for your own book, like that's my personal creed is that I want, this to be an artisan comic, right? Like, people are paying a little bit more for a book on Kickstarter. So I'm going to give you something that's longer. I'm going to give you something that's on a better paper quality than what you're getting in the stores. I'm going to ship it in a custom box, like things like that. I just want to make sure that the entire package that you get feels high end. But
I would say some of the stuff you just said is different than the first timer Kickstarters. Like it's amazing the quality, knowing what's a quality Kickstarter and what's not. It's digging through. Like I just recently, in the past 6 months, really started digging through and I found
Sure.
some great ones, and I've seen, because I realized like I was missing out on these great indie books, and then they come to Scout, and I'm like, wait, I wanted to know it before it became to Scout, or
Right,
before it went
right.
to Source Point. Like I talked to Garrett Gunn, Source Point, and talking to him, or Bob Sally, and talking to Black
Yeah,
Cotton guys, and all you and the different ones. I'm like, there's so many great things you guys are doing on the Kickstarters, but hearing you say it's about the packaging, it's about the bookmarks and the incentives and the stickers and the all those different things, it sells me more. I'm gonna do the $40. I'm gonna do the $60. I might do the $100 if it's a good.
right.
Hey, you know what? You're gonna throw a sketch in there or whatever, or 200. I
Yeah.
mean,
We actually, we last time around we had sketch covers that Connor did for an exclusive White Ash sketch cover. So like
oh
that,
wow,
yeah. I mean, he did 20 of those total.
yeah,
So it's nice when you have the artist of the series doing sketch covers of the book,
hmm,
custom for people, and they looked incredible. So it's like we're we may have a couple of those this time
yeah,
around too. And I also try to look out for the collector. So we have plenty of early bird specials.
hmm,
So if you check out it on day one, it's going
yeah,
live on Monday, 9 a.m. PST. There, you'll be able to save money.
yeah.
Because we always want to have a big launch, because that helps the Kickstarter algorithm find
Mhm.
more backers.
It's that nice little, when you get to put that little stamp, sold out in 2 days or 2 hours.
Yeah, but I think with a lot of things, it's success begets success, right?
Yes.
Everyone wants to check out this book that's doing well.
Hmm,
I am very fortunate in that I have a large Kickstarter following.
hmm,
I've built this up through White Ash and through some of the other things that I've done.
yeah,
I did this book called The Adept. I'm working with another company called Immortal Studios,
mm,
which was, like that's all about trying to do a genuine wuxia kung fu kind of martial arts story.
yeah,
We actually had an actual kung fu master choreographing the fight scenes, and so like it's like the people that I'm working with, like this
yeah,
is like this is their soul,
mm,
and they come from the internet, like their family, like Peter, who runs the company, his father was one of the biggest authors of wuxia genre in China. So like
oh wow,
it's like it's a history with the family, a family legacy, and they're bringing it to comics and all that love. So I'm
yeah,
working with them too. Yeah, so when you have a following on Kickstarter, it makes it a little bit easier.
yeah,
So we'll have a big launch. Um, you know, knock on wood. But so if you're looking for things, like there will be packages for variant covers. We've got like a pick two tier. We have one
hmm,
that you can get all five at a cheaper price than if you tried to get them individually, a lot cheaper.
yeah,
So like for the collectors, there are plenty of things if you come early where you can save 10, 15 bucks at
yeah.
least on the packaging. So
That's awesome. I know the few that I've been lucky enough to hit when you guys first premiere them,
mhm.
for different ones I've hit. I'm like, oh, the early bird specials. I mean, I'm convinced quickly, and usually there's amazing things inside of them. Like
Yeah,
I enjoy doing it, and then I'm more than likely going to do an add-on after the fact. Like when, oh wait, okay, if you want a second of that cover, you can pay, and I'll do that later on. Like I do love doing. I've done a few now, so it's sort of exciting. I like the
yeah.
Kickstarters, the way you guys do them.
And if someone's watching this and they still wanted a Carla Cohen cover, and they've sold out at the Scout site, I have a couple that I will be offering as add-ons after the campaign for people who want to pick those up, things like that.
Nice. I think
Um,
Swaza did that. They had a couple of the
mhm.
cut ones left over, so they had them as early bird specials. We have 3 left from the first one. I think it
Right,
was a
right.
Cohen and a Silverbacks. Did I don't know if you partnered with them to help them with theirs, because they go through Scout as well, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I think like it's amazing how quickly those issues go. And I wish I could be offering people more first prints of White
Yeah,
Ash #1 that I did on Kickstarter. I'm down personally to about 10 copies
yeah.
of the book from of that. So I can't even put those
Is
up because I want to have them.
is that just
Um,
weird to you to think through? Like when you can, I mean, I know you're a producer, I know you had a plan, but to go, I only have 10 left. How, like, just to think of where you were when you had this idea.
well, well, like that was the thing, was like I had to actually do a reprint of that first Kickstarter issue because I sold out of them. And I thought at
Hmm,
the time, when I did a printing of 1,000, when I was just going to Kickstarter and I wasn't going to stores, like, that would be more than enough. But yeah, those were gone.
And they don't. They're hard. You can't see them online. It's not like people
No,
are trying to sell them.
no. I'll
Like
tell you.
people
So
that like it read it.
I'll tell you the ultimate white ash collectible.
Hmm.
If anyone has one floating around, this is like for collectors. There were 25 made. They were an ash can that I brought to Comic-Con in 2017 when I was thinking about talking to publishers before I went to Kickstarter.
Oh wow.
So there are
Was it already?
25.
Did you already have Connor draw it, or was this just
Yeah,
like your?
yeah.
Okay.
It's actually the first 25 pages of the
Wow.
book, and almost kind of where the Scout version ends, but
Hmm.
like it ends with like the big mine
Yeah.
accident, and you have that giant spread that Finn, who does the colors, did a beautiful job painting.
Yeah.
It just after then, it's like what's going to happen, and and so it was
Yeah.
a teaser that I was bringing to Comic-Con, and I gave a couple of those away as part of the first Kickstarter. I gave a couple of those away to some friends, but yeah, 25 total. So
Wow.
like if people are looking for the ultimate collectible, that's who like white ash, that's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, I have one, which I'm not gonna
Oh yeah.
give up just 'cause, like that's mine. But yeah, I always like saying like there are cool collectibles out there that a lot of us don't even know.
Yeah.
Um, and when things become TV shows or whatnot, it's a whole new game. And I'll
Well,
say,
I was gonna say, you've dropped two bombs in the past month, and all
yeah.
of a sudden you guys went from being okay, okay, Scout, to wait, Electric Black sold out #1. Oh wait, next week Forever Maps. What the heck? How did that move? Like a book that
We-
no one knew about, all of a sudden, and then you're sold out on your site. Like how quickly
So,
that news.
so from the collector's point of view,
Yeah.
just so they know, Scout is working with a company called Mosaic,
Hmm.
uh, which is one of the biggest agencies in Hollywood right now. So we have weekly meetings with Mosaic where we talk through, different producers, different places, books and series that might be right for them. So we're actively working on the IP side with, one of the biggest agencies in Los Angeles. And like I'm in Los Angeles, and this is also part of my background. So it's easy for me to be like, okay, now this would make a good TV series.
Yeah.
We think it's a great concept, but we might need to tweak it like this. And Mosaic's like, oh, that's right. So we could take it to so-and-so. Yeah. But let's let them know that it might need to be adapted a little bit like this. And so you're pitching a package versus just throwing them a comic book.
So, so selling Scout stuff, like you have an idea, you have an ear and an eye for it, and go, okay, this might be good here, but this for White Ash being your own personal property, you probably have it a little closer. Like, if this is the offer I'm looking for, this is the company I'm looking for. Are you just willing to jump at anything? Like, I mean, it's a because
oh,
you have your series has potential. It's easily can be something that, because you don't go too far down any, at least yet, not too far down any sort of fantasy world where it's going to be all CG all the time. Like, it's a character development building series that can
so
easily.
again, from my background,
Yeah.
when I set about writing something, there'll be things that I will just go big world with. But there are other things that I write with an eye towards, if we turn this into something, I
Hmm.
want to make it something that's producible, right? So, the book is called White Ash, so it's set in White Ash. That's
Yeah.
not to mean that we won't, as the show goes on, see tastes of the other world, but from a physical production standpoint, it was always designed to be White Ash centric. So if it, again, just to make sure that the filming could be affordable if it
Yeah.
went to a TV show. But I also, I write with things in mind as a comic book, as a TV show, as a
Hmm.
movie. And so I have different versions in my mind of everything. There's a different version of White Ash that would be on the CW versus the one
Yeah.
that's on HBO versus the one that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I know those permutations. There's a 13 issue series. There's a permutation where it's a 24 issues, a
Hmm.
24 episode,
Yeah.
more like Supernatural. So it depends on who the partner is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it won't, like that it is going to be turned into a TV show or it is going to be turned into a film, but we're having conversations, just trying to find the right
Yeah.
partner for it. With all of our books, though.
Yeah. And I mean, but it's certain books are written that you guys put out that you're like, okay, the only way this is going to be made is animated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way around it because of just the way the creatures are drawn, the aliens and things like that. And it's very obvious. I can say from reading White Ash and just my personal, easily can be if you said CW, it could easily be in the Sabrina, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina,
Yep.
Riverdale. That's perfect. That's White Ash. I mean, that could easily do that, but you could easily then go Netflix way or HBO Max way and focus more on Galarian and her story and and I'm like, any of that could happen. I love that aspect of it. Um,
Well,
and I,
I always like, for me personally with fantasy,
yeah,
like I'm a huge fantasy fan, but to get people in, I think you sometimes have to give them touch points that they can relate to. So
yeah,
that's why I like, for White Ash, it's set in our world.
mm,
It's set in a real town with real people and these fantastical elements. So you get both. So I like those like I love The Magicians. I don't know if you ever
mm.
saw The Magicians on
Love
Sci-Fi.
Grossman. I read it before, though. The show's good too, though. I just haven't watched it
Just,
as many
yeah, I
times.
think this show took like half a season to a season to really establish itself, but I
Yeah.
love that. Like I
Mm,
love that kind of like mix of the different of reality and the magical universe kind
mm,
of coming together. So that's always something that has intrigued me. So I, I approach a lot of the things that I do through that perspective because I just think it makes them more relatable, and it feels like a world that you could actually see versus one that you can only dream of, right?
yeah.
So
That's awesome. Thank you
yeah,
so much for joining. I
yeah.
loved hearing about just knowing your background. I'm like, oh man, the knowledge that you gave me in this 40 minutes we've had has been awesome. Like just learning, I like learning how different companies work and how Kickstarter works and how, and then the sneaky, oh man, if I ever see a white ash can somehow on eBay for a price I'm willing to pay, I'm gonna jump on it, just knowing it's the 25 copies out there. But
Yeah.
uh, no, thank you so much for joining us, guys. This is going to be on Sunday. You can see it you on Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning or in Pacific time. So
Yeah.
that'd be
Depending on where you are.
yeah 12 o'clock Eastern. You can jump on the Kickstarter, do some of his early bird specials, check them out. If you haven't read White Ash, guys, please go read it. Read issue 1 and 2, and then you know how his first arc, and then all 6 issues are fabulous. I read them all again last night. I read issue just because I was going to talk to you. I was like, I need to read this to make sure I know where everything starts. But yeah, and comicbookinvest.com, guys, and check out Scout Comics or all this stuff. Check out the variants that he has listed on the link that's down in the site. It's a great deal. Hopefully there'll be some left by Monday and Tuesday, or they might all be gone. So,
Yeah.
thank
No,
you.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much for the time. You guys are doing some great work, and I appreciate you helping us get the word out about our titles and our books. And thank you so much.
Thank you.